have worked well together in the 2 games we have seen them play. Smirnov takes it back into his own zone, over to Kuznetsov. Up into the center ice area. Dumped back in. Along the boards, Johansson poked it in across the line. Kurashev flips it up on the wing to Harin. He was a draft choice of the Winnipeg Jets. Back into the corner to Kurashev. Into the center ice area to Nemchenov. Nemchenov over on the wing to Mylab, and Mylab was tied up as he attempted to break in. Loose puck in the Calgary zone. Nieuwendyk gets it out. He misses Roberts with the pass. The Soviets trying to set up in the neutral zone. The play broken up by Calgary, and Johansson shoots it into the Soviet zone.
Well, the Soviet Union, you have to know, if you're a North American team, 2 things when you start a way of frustrating you, but you have to keep your head and stay out of that penalty box.
The Calgary Flames coming off a physical game the other night in Kiev as they played Sokol Kiev and won by a score of 5-2. Last night's game between Washington and Moscow Dynamo, also a physical game, resulting in a large number of penalties. 16 in total in the second period. McClellan in across the line. He was looking for Fleury. The pass was behind him, and the Soviets clear the zone. Fired in by Ken Savarin. Ranheim races in after it, lets it go for Fleury. Fleury is checked. Back comes Volkov. Volkov for the wings of the Soviet. He's knocked down in front of the net. Good check by Ken Savarin.
A great play by Savarin. He paid absolutely no attention to the puck, kept his eyes glued on the man, and then knocked him down as he got near the net. Perfect.
Stepa in across the line, trying to cut for the net. Brad McCrimmon takes him out of the play. This is a young team, the wings of the Soviet. Word is that they are trying to put together some potential national team members on this squad for future international competition, World Championship, and Olympic play.
Funny, Don, every team that we've seen, the experts in the area have all said that they've gone to younger players. And one of the reasons, of course, is the flood of the great older players to North America. And it's caused a real problem for the Soviets in putting out the kind of a team that they usually do in the World Championship. And they've always got their eye on the Olympics, the next one's being in 1992.
Pryakin out there for his first shift against his former teammates. Sergei Pryakin, captain of the Soviet wings. Picked up now by Suter. Suter brings it in. He's bumped in against the board. The puck goes loose. Otayachuk flips it up on the wing, knocked out into the center ice area, and Joel Otto drives it right back in, but it's whistled down on an offside call.
Well, there's Sergei Pryakin. He was, as you said, Don, the cap he gives remains to be seen, but this is a big game for Pryakin, and I, for one, hope that he shows his old teammates and this fairly decent crowd that he's going to do well in the National League, too.
Johansson drives it in. Hunter, attempting to pick it up in the corner, steps into his man. Otto, in attempting to throw a check, slipped and fell. Puck comes out to the center ice area. Merzen shoots it in. Poplinski touches it, but it's an offside call. There is no delayed offside in international hockey.
Igor Dimitrov, the Soviet coach, again, like all Soviet coaches, stands in front of his players on the bench so they can talk behind his back, I guess, if the players get mad. Didn't they used to say, if you're a major, you have to know your troops by looking at the backs of their head? Not so in the Russian hockey. I wonder if it's true in the Russian Army.
Johansson drives it in. That puck seemed to dive and almost fooled Bratash in goal for the wings of the Soviet. We're at the 3:27 mark of this opening period. Otayachuk, pass, shot, saved by Vernon. Odintsov let that shot go, and Vernon kicked that one out. The first save that the Calgary goaltender has been forced to make in the hockey game.
Soviets always have a right-hander playing left wing and a left-hander playing right wing. So when they get the pass, the puck is in the middle of the rink and not on the outside. And the shooting angle is much better. Although problems in the other end, taking passes around the boards, causes the North American coaches to stay away from that theory to a great deal.
A few years ago, wasn't there a Soviet national team that had all left-handed shots?
Yeah, there are some right-handed shots in the Soviet Union now, but as you watch the teams, you won't find very many of them. Now, I don't know whether that was an accident or whether it just happened to be the best players were all left-handed. Maybe we could ask Mr. Tarasov. I understand he's at the game tonight. Hopefully we'll get him on the program. The father of coaches in the Soviet Union and coached some pretty great teams himself.
Picked up by Nieuwendyk to Roberts. Calgary Flames make a change as they dump it in. Strahoff fires it out into the center ice area as we approach the 5-minute mark of this still scoreless opening period. Good move by Milev. He took a shot, and the save is made by Mike Vernon. It's still scoreless here at the Luzhniki Sports Palace. Mike Vernon did not dress for Game 2. Goaltending duties against Sokol Kiev were shared by Rick Wamsley and Steve Gannett. And we were suitably impressed with the performance of Gannett, and I think the Calgary Flame coaching staff was as well.
Pretty tough not to notice that, and that's what they said at the earlier on in the show, that that he may cause a tough decision on behalf of the Calgary Flame management. He plays the way he did in Kiev. Certainly, they can't just dismiss him as a candidate.
Panin flips it up on the wing. Katakov couldn't control it. Lead pass for Panin, who had moved up to the Calgary line, broken up by the Flames. Now it's McClellan. Into the center ice area to Fleury. It was here in this building that Fleury won his gold medal as the captain of the Canadian junior team at the World Championships. He tried to get it to Johansson driving into the blue line, but it came out just across the line.
Well, Fleury's the smallest man on this team, and he only played 36 games last year because he didn't arrive in Calgary till New Year's Day, but he got 34 points. 5 power play be an asset. There's Mr. Ziegler. We got a quick glimpse of him as he's over here representing the league office, and I think he's enjoyed the games, at least he's appeared to. He had his picture taken last night with the Canadian boxing team, and they seem to get a kick out of that. They're over here battling with about 30 other nations in a tournament. And last night, they could have been used by the Washington Capitals or the Soviets because it was a chippy, fight-filled game.
Esmandovich goes back of the net, looking out front for Stepa. Esmandovich is hauled down in the corner by Johansson. Johansson gets that loose puck at the side of the net, plays it along the boards. Stepa managed to keep it in. Now the Calgary Flames gain control, and Doug Gilmour comes out with Pryakin. Smirnoff behind his own net, playing it around on the boards, and it slides down the ice back into the Calgary zone. Sabarin has it. He gives it across ice to Al McInnes. McInnes dressed for the second game of this friendship tour by the Calgary Flames. That was in Kiev, but the only action he saw was on the power play, and that was the strategy of Terry Crisp going into the game. An offside call against the Calgary Flames.
Well, 8 defensemen is a very awkward number for a coach to handle. The North American coaches have never had to do it. I don't think they like it, and the players like it less. And Brian Murray, as well as Terry Crisp, tries to go with 6 per period and have 2 sit around. And at least the 6 will play. He was 3rd in defenseman scoring and, of course, won the Conn Smythe Trophy last year for his great performance in the playoffs.
Podjacek takes it back into his own zone, and this is something that the Soviet teams like to do, circle back into their own zone to set up a play. Podjacek breaking in on the right side. The pass too far for him. He's bumped in the corner by Sabarin. It goes to the other side, and Jim Poplinski, the captain of the Calgary Flames, moves it to his teammate Al McInnes, who goes rink wide to Sabarin. Sabarin pokes it into the center ice area to Poplinski. Poplinski stopped at the line, flipped out by Kudashov, and as it's driven back in, it's offside Calgary.
Well, I talked about penalty killing, and nobody does it any better than Joel Otto. First of all, he's tough to beat on the draw, which is a nice way to start the penalty killing since hit. And in the second period, you remind me, and I'll give you the answer to that quiz, and then the winner gets a 6-week vacation in Leningrad.
And the losers?
7 weeks.
Another offside call against the Calgary Flames. Can we give them a hint? Did he play for you?
Yes, he played for me for a brief, not a fairly lengthy time. He was a little guy, a feisty little player, and not a bad one at all. And there's one of the Hunter boys. There's 2 of the 3 Hunter boys here, and Mr. Hunter supervising both of them. And Mark, number 22 you're looking at, scored 2 goals in Kiev with that real good shot that he's known for.
5-2 was the score. The Calgary Flames victors over Sokol Kiev. In their first game against Himik, the Flames won by a score of 4-2. That game was played in Leningrad. Harron shoots it into the Calgary zone. McCrimmon plays it around in the boards, picks it up as it came loose. It came to the point, was fired in offside by the wings of the Soviet. Again, we point out that there is no delay.
Him today, and he's quite worried about the kind of condition his team is in with a training camp under these circumstances. He's got one eye on October 5th when the Flames open the NHL season against the Detroit Red Wings, and he knows another thing. They won't have an easy game because everybody will be ready for the defending Stanley Cup champions.
Volkov, just 17 years of age, back of the net, taken off the puck by Merzin. It goes loose to Zolotov. Zolotov circling in the corner. A couple of good moves, but he didn't fool Roger Johansson. Fired in from the point, wide of the net, and it was deflected. Now picked up by Makarov. He leaves it there for Merzin. Good forechecking by Katakov of the Soviet wings. Up on the wing to Makarov. He can't go anywhere with it. And the Soviets fire it back into the Calgary zone. Roger Johansson for the Flames. Hits Makarov. He has Fleury out there with him, along with McClellan. Over to Fleury. Fleury with a shot. That's high off the glass.
This has been a very friendly game with not much in the way of intensity and very few takeouts.
Except for this one by Theron Fleury as he steps into Smirnov.
Fleury doesn't know what friendly means, I don't think.
9:27 is the time gone by in this opening period. Still no score between the Flames and the wings of the Soviet, or the Soviet wings, if you prefer. Ken Sabarin picks it up in the corner, moves it out into the center ice area. Brandheim couldn't go anywhere with it. Sabarin will try again. In across the line to Ranheim. His shot goes off a leg to the corner. Picked up in the corner by Gilmore into the slot area. Popinski with a shot. He gets the rebound. Popinski, a backhander, a save by Bratas. Popinski had a lot of time as he picked up the rebound in the slot area. I think he was a little surprised at that. Ranheim is upset in the corner by Moronov, and there's a whistle on the play.
Boy, that Moronov just manhandled Ranheim. He's more abrasive than a roll of toilet paper here in Russia. And that's about the second time we've seen anybody get mad out there. And that was a pretty feisty number 2, Moronov, for the wings of the Soviet, hauling down a 200-pounder in Ranheim. And you can see the Soviet coach, he likes that. All coaches like it when their team knock the opponents down. This guy can smile in slow motion. He's a real talent.
Igor Dmitriev, the coach of the wings of the Soviet. He has been behind their bench for 5 years. 10:13 is the time gone by in this opening period.
They don't seem to relieve coaches of their duties as quickly here in the Soviet Union as they do in North America.
There may be hope for you over here, Harry. Poplinski behind his own net. To the point. Sabarin with a shot. Right along the ice. Bratas steers that to the corner. Potayachuk gets it out to Kudashov. Kudashov circles back. And again, a familiar type of activity by the Soviets, gaining control of that puck, taking it back into their own zone, trying to set something up. Hunter moves it out to the line.
The Calgary coaching staff told me this morning in the hotel as they were checking in that yesterday's practice was a stinger by them, and this morning's day of the game skate was more than just a waltz. So the Calgary Flames may not, I say may not, have the light legs that they'd like to have for a game. But as I said earlier, training camp is to get your team ready for the season, not win every game in the preseason schedule. Although when the game's on, they'd like to.
Gary Roberts with a shot. The save by Bratas. Good scoring opportunity there for the Flames. And back comes Hamailev. Hamailev knocked off the puck by Suter. It's loose back to the net. Heron picks it up. Heron trying to move to his backhand. Now he gets into the slot area, gives it to the point. A long shot from the point by Smirnov in the Calgary zone. 11:45 gone by in this opening period. A race for the puck down the left side, picked up by McClellan. McClellan trying to move around the defenseman. He had difficulty taking the puck with him. Back come the Soviets. Katakov stopped at the line by Johansson. Now Theron Fleury gains control. He's out there with McClellan and Makarov. A change in lineup. Here's Katakov faking the shot into the slot area. And knocked off the puck is Zolotov, and the net is knocked off its support.
And a nice play by Roger Johansson to come back and take the 2-on-1 away from the Soviets. Not talking about it, and there's Johansson. That shows you the kind of bear hug he had on number 27, Zolotov. I don't know whether Johansson's been to the Calgary Stampede, but that looks like the move you might see out there.
The Hulk, maybe his favorite athlete. McClellan in across the line to Makarov. Makarov was tied up, couldn't get good wood on the shot, and really didn't get one away. Puck flipped into the slot area, picked up by Asmanovic. Asmanovic, he's knocked down by Al McInnes, and Theron Fleury is back to gain control. He flips it into the corner to McClellan. McClellan tries to get it out. The Soviets keep it in. Kuznetsov with a shot. It just goes wide. Fleury bangs it off the boards out into the center ice area. 12:50 has elapsed in period one. It's scoreless between the Calgary Flames and Wings of the Soviet. Colin Patterson fires it in for Calgary. Back after it is Kuznetsov.
Excuse me, Don. One thing is shooting a shoot-in that is a very common play in the National League. It doesn't work nearly as well in these big rinks. The defensemen for the Soviet team are much quicker as a group.
Gordiuk stealing the pass, cross ice, fired wide by Kudashov. And that was the best scoring opportunity for the Wings of the Soviets so far. Here is Gilmore to Patterson, a backhand shot. In front of the net, Bratash dives on it and holds it for a face-off. So scoring opportunities at both ends at the 13:34 mark of this first period.
I was saying before this play arrived, watch, this is a 2-on-1. The man with the puck rarely shoots in the Soviet Union with a 2-on-1. Vernon came out very nicely, and although the shot went wide, you might give Vernon credit, not for the stop, but for the fact that he had the angle cut, and if you were going to miss Vernon, you were going to miss the net. And there is number 14, Kudashov, who had the chance to make it 1-0 and missed.
Tim Hunter with a shot. Bratash out of his net to get a leg on that one. Picked up along the boards by Potayachuk. He moves it across to Kurashev. Kurashev stopped at the line. Puck in the neutral zone. Gilmore has it. Gilmore drops it for Patterson, and Patterson's shot doesn't get through. Moronov dropped in front of it. Gilmore along the board steals it, intercepting a clearing attempt. Gilmore going back of the net, still in possession of the puck, centering it. Tim Hunter couldn't get a stick on it, and it's brought out by Potayachuk. Into the slot area. Nimchenov to Gordiuk, and his shot blocked by Vernon. There's a penalty coming up against the Calgary Flames.
I think Doug Gilmore is going to get it for a retaliatory hit. But I'll tell you one thing, Mike Vernon made two big stops to keep this game at 0-0. And the Flames are now into the penalty killing situation. And here's the shot. Now Vernon has to make another one because Brad McCrimmon overskated the puck. And you can see Vernon, while he was down with his goal stick out of his hand, kicked out with his left leg to make the save.
So at 14:26 of this first period, Doug Gilmore goes to the penalty box. A power play opportunity for the Wings of the Soviet. Last night, in the game between Moscow Dynamo and the Washington Capitals, Dynamo scored 4 power play goals.
Well, all these Soviet teams have a good power play, and it is helped by the size of the rink here and the non-familiarity with penalty killing in a rink this size by the opposition.
Soviet director seems to be quite impressed with the fact that Gilmore is sitting in the penalty box. Long shot from the point. That is kicked high. Nieuwendyk knocks it to the corner. Johansson moves in there as well. They're trying to tie it up in the corner. Nimchenov unable to pry it loose. Otto got it to the line, not out, but now Nieuwendyk gets a stick on it and fires it down the ice.
The Calgary #1 in the National League in this department last year. And it's anybody's guess how many games they won because of great penalty killing.
Kamailev Circling. Looking back to the point. Mironov back to Hamailev. Mironov goes cross ice to Strahov. Strahov to Nemchenkov. The Soviets moving it around, but they're having trouble penetrating that box that the Calgary Flames have set up. Now back to the line to Mironov. Over to Strahov. Strahov tried to cross ice to Nemchinov, and it was broken up by Calgary and fired the length of the ice.
Well, what a play by Ranheim. Not only did he anticipate the cross pass, which is what you have to do if you want to take it away, but he made a great dive to get it. And it's obvious the Flames want to use Ranheim killing penalties, and plays like that are the reason why they think he can do a job in that department.
Sabourin bangs it around the boards. Kurashev couldn't keep it in. 17 seconds remaining in the Gilmore penalty. Zolotov is forced back into his own zone. To Katikov. Lead pass for Volkov. Glove save by Mike Vernon with just 4 seconds remaining in the penalty to Doug Gilmore.
Well, there's a patent Soviet play. They put a winger over on the boards behind everybody, and then as the Russian defenseman gets the blue line, he comes off, and he gets this kind of a chance. Now, he could hear the footsteps, that Soviet player, so he decided to shoot from 30 feet out rather than go all the way in, and you're not going to beat Mike Vernon from that far out very often. So when you're playing defense against the Soviet team, you have to be very aware of the guy who may be behind you. They don't seem to worry about the fact that they might be a man short if there's a turnover. And the next thing you know, the opposition backs their defense up further, and that gives the Soviets more room in the center zone.
Shot from the point by Kuznetsov. That goes wide. Centered. Vernon comes out of the net to knock it to the corner as Gilmore steps back onto the ice, and he has the puck. He drives it into the Soviet zone as the Calgary Flames make a change. Gilmore tried to flip it out front. He almost took it away from Estmanovich. Fleury in the corner. Looking back to the point to McCrimmon. It was knocked away from him. And Estmanovich brings it back for the Soviets. Working against Suter. Suter spins him around. The puck is loose back of the Calgary net. McCrimmon plays it around on the boards. Kuznetsov keeps it in. Fires it wide off a body in front of the net. McCrimmon to Fleury. Fleury runs into a check. Steppe has it for the Soviets. Estmanovich back to Steppe. He tried to center it. It's at the side of the net. Vernon covers it up as the Soviet player Odintsov pokes away at it. The face-off with 17:16 remaining in the first period. To the right of Vernon. Back to the point. Strahov was looking for his defensive partner, Mironov. He wasn't in position.
Mironov decided he better get off the blue line as a defensive decision, and Mironov was making an offensive one, and their signals got crossed, and they got fouled up on the play. The Soviet defensemen are very Calgary fans. I think there are about 80 of them, aren't they, over here?
Quite a large contingent. They spent an extra day in Kiev before traveling to Moscow for the third and fourth games of this friendship tour by the Flames. So far, it's been a successful journey into the USSR. Victories in Leningrad 4-2 over Himik, and a victory in Kiev against Sokol Kiev 5-2 the score. 18 minutes gone by in the period. Puck knocked out into the neutral zone. Strahov gets it back to Mironov over on the right side, but the Soviet player Potayachuk was going to the bench on a change. Didn't see that pass coming his direction. Flipped down the ice with Al McInnes going back after it. A rather tame opening period, unlike action in the first two games of this tour by the Calgary Flames, where they got off to a quick start in both Leningrad and in Kiev.
I'm sure Terry Crisp has seen lots of inter-squad games in training camp that have been tougher and more intense than this. Although it hasn't been a badly played period, both teams are trying to do it mostly on their skill and not on anything else.
Nemchinov to Milev. In front to Nemchinov, trying to jam it past Mike Vernon, and he comes up with a glove save with 59 seconds remaining in the period.
Or the back checking forward, or Mike Vernon. But it has been a fairly low chance period as far as the goaltenders are concerned. And they like periods like that every once in a while because they know they're going to get those periods when there's all kinds of rubber around the net.
Smirnoff battling along the boards. Knocked off the puck as it comes loose in the Calgary zone. Picked up now by Colin Patterson. Over on the right side for Tim Hunter. He shoots it into the Soviet zone. Kurashev is back there after it. Doug Gilmour manages to pick up a loose puck looking into the slot area for Gary Suter, who was racing in. Couldn't hit him with the pass. Now it's brought in by Gilmour, and a Calgary player was trapped offside. Gary Roberts a couple of strides inside that blue line. This is something of a problem and an adjustment for the Calgary Flames. In the National Hockey League, they sometimes work plays on that delayed offside call. Over here, there is no such thing.
Well, I think they think they'd rather play it the way it is in the National League, but since the play stopped, no harm can be done, and it's one of the changes I think that they don't have any trouble contending with.
Picked up by Roberts. Roberts moving in. Bratash with the save. Roberts was a little off balance as he attempted to drive into that Soviet zone and didn't really get a good shot away. Just 3 seconds remaining in the period. A long shot is gloved and dropped to the side of the net by Mike Vernon. And so the score at the end of the first period is Calgary 0. Start the second period at the Luzhniki Sports Palace. No score in the game between the Wings of the Soviet and the Calgary Flames. A rather tame opening period. Neither side had a scoring opportunity until the 10-minute mark. Herron attempting to center it, knocked down and brought back by Nieuwendyk. Nieuwendyk on the right side to Ranheim. Ranheim taken in against the boards by Nemchinov, and it goes loose in the corner. Smirnoff forced back behind his own goal. Rink-wide pass intercepted by Roberts. Good anticipation by Roberts, and the Soviets are not at all reluctant to throw that puck rink-wide in front of their own net. Smirnoff was decked with a good body check by Joe Nieuwendyk, and now it is brought out by Milev. Milev in across the line. Shot saved by Vernon. That puck bounces up into his glove, and he holds it for a face-off.
Joe Nieuwendyk, who led the team with winning goals, 11, was 5th in the league, has been the best player at training camp as far as the Calgary coaching staff is concerned. And here's a mix-up on the Calgary defense, and they allowed number 26 for the Soviet Wings to walk in and take about a 15-foot shot at Mike Vernon, but he shot it right at him. And that is the 6th scoring opportunity for the Soviet Wings. Calgary had 5, which are not many combined for a period.
Mironov with a long shot, broken up, a race for the loose puck. Fleury going after it. McClellan going for the net, and that puck was deflected away from him by goaltender Oleg Bratash. Makarov moving into the slot area. He was looking for McInnes racing in from the point, but couldn't get the puck over to him. And now it's Katakov breaking out to Volkov, and the young 17-year-old just deflected that one wide. Katakov, rink wide, back to the point to Strahov. Strahov's shot is knocked down in front by Al McInnes, and he slides it ahead to McClellan. To Fleury. Fleury into the slot. Fleury back to the point. Now Savarin's shot deflected to the end boards by Bratash. Savarin pinching in from the point, manages to keep it in. Mironov, rink-wide pass to Zolotov. Zolotov looking ahead for Katakov, and it was just too far for him as Makarov goes back into his own zone and gets it ahead to Colin Patterson. Patterson working around Kuznetsov, puts on the brakes, takes the shot, saved by Bratash.
Patterson gave you a little taste of a change of pace. He's a far quicker skater than he looks. And he got to the outside, pulled up short, and ended up making a pretty good shot on goal. The Russian goalie came out quickly to cut the angle down.
Face off to the right of Bratash. We're at 2:05 of the second period. Pryakin leaves it in the corner. Picked up by Odintsov. On the right side for Estmanovich. He gets it out of the zone. Calgary Flames' Colin Patterson shoots it right back in. Lysenko plays it around on the boards. Kept in at the point by McCrimmon. In behind the net, Odintsov. He's checked. Now Pryakin centering it. Gilmore spins around, lets the shot go, and Bratash kicks that one to the corner. Loose puck in the neutral zone. Odintsov brings it out for the Soviets. Over on the wing to Stepa. Scores! Vernon got a piece of it, but it bounced up over his shoulder and into the net.
Well, a Russian ploy of a crossover in front of the Calgary defense got the two Calgary players a little confused, as you can see. And the two of them, the Calgary defensemen, McCrimmon and Poplinski, who was the man back. And you can see that they got confused. It wasn't Jimmy Poplinski. It was the other back-checking forward as Gary Suter got trapped. And they should have stayed on their own side, despite the fact that the Soviets crossed in front of them. And that little mental, not physical error, gave the Soviet winger the chance. And Shetbrook came in and put it by Vernon, but Vernon did stop it, but not all of it.
Long shot, grabbed and held by Vernon off the stick of Katakov. 12 is the time gone by in this second period. Our coverage being provided by Soviet television. Dana Murzin taking it back of his own goal. Ahead for Hunter. He couldn't control it. Gordiuk is back. The Soviets circling in their own zone. Smirnov ahead to Gordiuk. Gordiuk, Potayachuk. His shot, loose in front of the net. Vernon pokes it back to the line. Long shot blocked in front of the goal by Johansson. Now it's Gordiuk centering it. There's nobody there. He's bumped in against the boards by Hunter. Gordiuk and Hunter push and shove as Poplinski brings it in across the line to the point to Murzin. He hits the post. Murzin trying to center it. Joel Otto was tied up, couldn't get a stick on it. Good opportunity there for Murzin, and his shot ricocheted off the post. The Flames come back, led by Roberts. Roberts centering it, nobody there. Nieuwendyk in the corner, keeps it in. Roberts back to the net, trying to poke it free. It's on the mesh at the back of the net. Now it comes to the point. McInnes lets the shot go, and that goes off Haran to the corner. Haran for the Soviets to Nemchinov. Pass too far on the right side, and Vernon behind the net to play it for Al McInnes. 4:35 gone by in the second. 1-0, the wings of the Soviet lead. Nieuwendyk dropping it back for Al McInnes. He wasn't in position to let a shot go. Flips it to the corner to Nieuwendyk. Back of the net. They score! A centering attempt by Tim Hunter goes off the skate. And into the Soviet net, it's 1-1.
That was an attempted pass out by Hunter, and it either hit the goaltender's skate or a Soviet defenseman who was standing in the crease, and it went in on a shot from behind the net. We notice and have got word. Watch it here. Hunter from behind the net tries to pass it out, and it hits the goaltender's left skate and caroms in between his legs. We're going to get another look at it here. Nieuwendyk throws it over to Hunter, and Hunter's trying to center it. And you can see that the goaltender should have been standing up with his right foot jammed against the post and his legs together. I notice on the bench, Don, that Rick Wamsley's there and not Gannett. Evidently, Gannett got sick, and they dressed Wamsley, and so Wamsley's the backup goalie. Now, he had no warm-up at all before the game, so you wonder whether he'll get in or not. They may play Vernon the whole game.
Patton has stopped at the line. The puck loose in the neutral zone. Fleury just failed to pick it up. Zolotov with Patton in across the line. Back to Zolotov. Zolotov behind the goal. Checked there by Brad McCrimmon. The puck flipped up on the boards to Makarov. He can't get out of the zone as he is tied up by Lysenko. It goes to the other side. Suter pokes it free, but not out. Zolotov and McCrimmon hold it against the boards for a face-off with 5:50 gone by in period 2.
Vernon has been solid tonight. On a couple of occasions, he's had a break because the Russians have hit him with shots just like that instead of making a move to make the save. But Vernon, with the confidence I think that he acquired last year and in the playoffs, he'll be even better this year.
Fired in with Smirnoff back there after it. Along the boards for Heron to Nemchinov. Nemchinov trying to go around Merzin. Still has control of the puck. Still being chased by the Calgary defenseman. Finally knocks him down. It goes back to the point to the other side. A long shot by Kuznetsov. That's steered to the corner.
Well, this big line for the Soviet wings has caused troubles all night to the Flames. And they all played in the 1987 Canada Cup. Number 8, Nemchinov, number 15, Karin, and number 25, Hamalov. And they'll all probably end up playing for the Russian national team in the World Tournament. And a good quick stick move by Mike Vernon knocks the puck that was dangerously loitering in front of the Calgary goal.
We played 13-18 of the second period. 1-1 the score. Stepa scoring for the wings of the Soviet. Tim Hunter for the Calgary Flames. Al McInnes poking it along the boards, and it's dumped right back in by number 27 for the wings of the Soviet, Sergei Zolotov. Strahov picks it up in his own zone. He gives it to Katakov, to Zolotov, over to Volkov. Volkov to Zolotov. Zolotov in front, and the two Soviet players were tied up. Ranheim trying to dump it in. It's knocked down at the line. McClellan has to wait for Fleury to get back on side. McInnes flips it in, brought in offside by Theron Fleury as the Soviet player knocked it out just across the line.
Well, from all reports, Ron McLean is kinds of communication are open. Immediate punishment for any error at practice, and put your best 3 forwards together on a line. Never mind what position they play. Those are 4 benchmarks he used in his great coaching career, and they won a few games, too.
They didn't do badly during Tarasov's reign. Here's Pryakin. Circling in the corner, Pryakin having problems there with Stepa. Now Gilmore gets that loose puck. Pryakin moving into the slot, spun around by Odintsov, and he brings it back for the Soviets to Estmanovich. Estmanovich working against Suter. Suter takes him in against the boards. Stepa trying to center it. The puck goes loose, and it's brought out by McCrimmon. Ahead to Pryakin. Pryakin to Gilmore. Gilmore, nice play to Hunter. He scores!
Boom, boom, Hunter gets his second goal of the night. This one a far prettier one than the first one, as he took a nice pass from Gilmore and got in alone. The puck was bouncing, but Hunter managed to control it and put it by the Soviet goaltender to give the Flames a 2-1 lead. Let's have another look at it here. There's the little deft pass, and the goaltender opened up, and Hunter, with the eye of an eagle, put it between. Watch this little pass by Gilmore. He's got to put it up in the air to get it over the Soviet defenseman's stick. Hunter beats the back checker to the net, and the score is 2-1.
So the other night in Kiev, it was Mark Hunter with 2 goals. Tonight, Tim Hunter has scored 2 goals.
But I don't think Tim Hunter would use all his fingers to count the number of games with the Calgary Flames that he scored 2 goals. And you?
I don't think he would have to use
on one hand,
all
maybe.
of his fingers. Merzin waits for Otto to get back on side, fires it in. Smirnoff flips it up to the blue line. Picked up there by Kudashov. He couldn't go anywhere with it. And the Soviets will try again. They, as we pointed out in the first period, like to come back into their own zone to organize an attack. Here's Poplinski giving it to Joel Otto. Otto wasn't in position to let a shot go. It comes back to the line. He gets it. Trying to move in. Being hounded by Potayachuk. Got it back of the net. Poplinski couldn't center it. Now Potayachuk breaks out of his own zone. He has Gordiuk with him. Gordiuk couldn't accept that pass as he was tied up by Johansson, who has played a strong game again tonight. Joel Otto with a long shot. That goes wide. Merzen with a shot right on, and Bratash kicks that to the corner. Gordiuk has it. He clears the zone. This game rather tame as far as penalty goes, in contrast to a rather wild and woolly affair last night involving Moscow Dynamo and the Washington Capitals.
Calgary's moving a lot better tonight than Washington did at any time last night, and they're not behind the 8 ball, and there isn't that frustration level that got in the way of a lot of the sane thinking of the Washington players, and the penalties they took ended up with face-offs at center ice because of the 4 power play goals that Dynamo got on them.
In across the line, Roberts takes that pass from Nieuwendyk. Roberts works to the corner. Leaves it there for Makarov. He's tied up by Moronov. Savarin keeps it in at the point. Nieuwendyk looking in front of the net for Roberts. The pass doesn't get through.
Calgary's done a great job, Don, at the first forward back, or sometimes the second, picking up the late man on the rush. And as a result, we've seen very few odd man rushes through the center zone against them.
Nemchinov circling in the corner. Gives it to Heron. Heron working to his backhand. Will he shoot? Decides to flip it out front. So often you'll see the Soviets in position in that slot area, but they'll make that pass rather than shoot. And Heron was in perfect position to let a backhander go.
Well, you remember they got the big curves. All of them have the big curves on the blade of their stick, and shooting a backhand with one of them isn't easy.
Tim Hunter almost got the hat trick as Fleury threw that puck out front, and Hunter just got a piece of it with his shot on goaltender Bratash. A whistle on the play with the puck in the dasher. 17:58 has gone by in period 2. By Tim Hunter have the Calgary Flames in front 2-1. Zolotov goes rink wide to Volkov. Volkov working against Suter. Now it's Katakov. Back to Volkov. His shot is blocked by McCrimmon. Loose puck in front of that Calgary net, and McClellan dumps it down the ice. McClellan intercepts a clearing attempt, keeping it in for Calgary. McClellan, Fleury, and Hunter out there for the Flames. Suter gets the puck now in the neutral zone. McCrimmon is out there with him. Just over a minute remaining in the second period. No scoring in the first period. 2 goals by Calgary, both by Tim Hunter, 1 by Stepa for the wings of the Soviet in this second period. Priakin gives it back into his own zone to Suter, over to McCrimmon, and Calgary retreats, now trying to set something up, and they also make a line change. Gilmore gets it ahead to Priakin. Priakin going back to the net, looking to throw it out front, couldn't find anybody. Then his pass, intended for Volkov, or intended for Gilmore, broken up by Volkov. Priakin will try again with 30 seconds remaining. Priakin with a return pass from Patterson, slides it to the goal, and Bratash covers up with both Patterson and Gilmore going for the net.
I think you can see that the Calgary Flames would
be with some aspect of his team's play on that last shift. Now it's Ostmanovich bringing it down the ice, trying to go around Merzen. Patterson comes back into his own zone to tie up Stepa. Patterson, one of the best defensive forwards in the NHL, and he did a good job of getting back.
Yes, he sure is. He was in the running for the Selke Trophy, the best defensive forward, which was won by Guy Carbonneau. But to be one of 3 is a real compliment.
And the second period ends here at the Luzhniki Sports Palace. And the score after 40 minutes of play, the Calgary Flames 2, the Wings of the Soviet 1.
After a scoreless first period, 3 goals in the second, Tim Hunter almost equaling his total from last season with a pair. Shepa opened the scoring for the Soviets. Shots on goal after 2 periods, 2016 favor the Soviets. Now let's return to Moscow for third period action.
We're awaiting the start of the third period. The Calgary Flames leading by a score of 2-1. Both goals scored by Tim Hunter. Dana Merzen forced back in his own zone by Nemchinov. Now gets it ahead to Nieuwendyk. Nieuwendyk is checked. Makarov following up on the play. Takes it in, centers it. Roberts couldn't catch up with it. Lead pass to Nemchinov. It's a two-line pass. It's offside the wings of the Soviet. The Canadian Broadcasting Corporation and Sports Channel America is strictly prohibited. Makarov gets it back to the line. Johansson flips it up high in the glass. Nieuwendyk tried to slide it out front. Roberts was waiting for the pass, but it was blocked by the goaltender Bratash. Smirnov takes it back into his own zone to Kurashev. Kurashev, long shot right on Mike Vernon. Dana Merzen is back to tie up his man. The puck goes loose in the corner. Picked up by the Soviets. They throw it out the short side. They score!
Now Mike Vernon's kicking himself because there's that old play we've talked about on this came from. And Vernon knows it. There it is. You see, Vernon was playing for the Russian to keep coming around the net. And by the time he got back, he couldn't get himself in position. And Mikhailov put it in. Now watch this. Here's Vernon coming across. The pass is back. And it gets between his legs as he does not have the stick down. And Vernon gives himself a little tap right there. He's saying, I knew where that puck was going. I should have had that one.
Kamailev scores the tying goal for the wings of the Soviet. Panin knocked off the puck. Still loose in the Calgary zone. Panin gets it back. Katakov couldn't do anything with it, and McClellan starts out. Lead pass for Ranheim. Ranheim bumps with Moranov in the corner. It's loose along the board. Sabarin pinches in from the point to keep it in. McClellan, who had taken his spot back at the blue line, covering up for the defenseman who had charged in, battles for it. It's still in the Soviet zone, and finally Katakov brings it out. He's checked by Fleury. Fleury just knocked it off his stick, and the Soviets gain control again. Estmanovich, drop pass for Stepa. His shot deflects off his stick, high up into the crowd. Too many young ladies who resemble Lara walking the streets of Moscow.
Played by Julie Christie, and I don't want to break your heart, Don, but there have been absolutely no females who have stopped you, McLean, and myself on our many walks and accused us of looking like Omar Sharif.
That's quite true. Pryakin knocks it in across the line. Flipped back out by the Soviets. Odintsov checked by Pryakin. Odintsov gets it back. It's deflected down the ice, and Doug Gilmore retreats for the Flames. We're at 2:34 of the third period. The score is tied at 2. Lead pass for Pryakin, trying to work his way through. Bratash plays it to the boards. Kept in by McCrimmon. Colin Patterson gets it behind the net. Patterson a backhander, and Bratash makes the save. Pryakin at the side of the net was tied up. Now it's Lysenko bringing it out for the wings of the Soviet. And across the line, Kuznetsov with a shot. That's kicked to the corner by Mike Vernon. Vernon had expected to only play half of this game. Steve Gannett was expected to play the second half of the hockey game, but as Harry pointed out earlier, Gannett, although he took the warm-up and dressed, became ill during the first period. He was replaced by Rick Wamsley. Wamsley sitting on the bench, not expected to play. Merzen with a shot from the point. Hunter in front, deflected it. It went high. Back comes the Soviet Union. Kurashev. Kurashev flips it towards the Calgary goal. It goes up high on the glass. Johansson gains control in the corner for Calgary to Poplinski. To Joel Otto to Merzen. Merzen dumps it into the corner. Otto back there after it. Otto slides it out front. He was looking for Hunter. Bratash blocked that at the side of the goal.
You have to wonder whether guys like Paul Henderson, Harry Sinden, John Ferguson, who may be watching this part of this tour or this game, and what memories it must race through their mind, especially Henderson, who scored the winning goal right at the end that Mike Vernon's defending the goal at. All Canadians and a lot of North Americans recall that series in '72. Probably won't be another one like it, will there?
Coming out of the net to touch that puck for an icing call. 4:30 left in the period. And penalties. Moscow Dynamo and the Washington Capitals, with Dynamo winning 7-2. 4 minutes remaining in this third period. I believe a few minutes ago I said 14:54 remained. Here the clock counts up to 20 minutes rather than down from 20 minutes as we are accustomed to in the National Hockey League. An offside call against the Calgary Flames, and there's going to be a penalty here.
And I think the referee has decided that the Soviet player, number 28, Lysenko, took a run at the Calgary player after the whistle. And as a result, with only 3 minutes and 40 seconds left, it's going to go to the penalty box. And this gives the Calgary Flames a great chance to get the go-ahead goal. And it was Doug Gilmour that I think he took a run at.
Gilmour pointing to his lip, pointing to the official, indicating that he had been hit by the Soviet player, and there is a penalty on the play.
And I think the Soviet team has taken a timeout, something we haven't seen any team do on this tour. And Calgary get a chance now, a 2-minute chance, to put the 5 best players they've got out there and take a chance at winning. The Soviets haven't had to kill very many penalties off on this tour, so I'm sure the coach here is going through a little bit of instruction on the penalty killing, and I'll be very surprised if he isn't saying, because they know a lot more about the National League teams than the National League teams know about them, is not saying, look, one guy we really have to worry about is Al McInnes on the point. So don't you defensive forward on the penalty killing crew, get too far away from him, because he can hurt us from the blue line.
Well, the Soviet team is ahead of the Calgary Flames as far as conditioning goes. They have been in training camp since the 1st of July, and they have already played 5 league games with a record of 2-2-1.
And they've played preseason games, I'm sure. So as far as game shape and getting into the so-called groove, the Canadian team, the Calgary Flames and the Washington Capitals, are at a terrible disadvantage. And again, that's not an excuse, that's a fact. And the Flames seem to have some jump tonight. The Washington Capitals played in liquid cement last night.
Al McInnes trying to set up that power play for the Flames. Gives it to Makarov. Makarov, good move. On his backhand, he's forced to the corner. Looking for Priakin. Knocked away. Comes to the line. McInnes pinches in. Manages to keep the puck in that Soviet zone. McInnes gets it again. Fires it wide of the net. Nieuwendyk gains control. Back to the point to Fleury. Into Priakin. Priakin is checked along the boards. Gets it loose to Nieuwendyk. Nieuwendyk over to Makarov. Makarov to the point to McInnes. McInnes to Makarov. Makarov fakes the shot. Still has some of those Soviet tendencies. In position at the edge of the circle. Tried to pass rather than take a shot from a pretty good position.
Yeah, Joe Mullen would have had that one on the net, because that's one of his favorite shots, and that little pass from McInnes when the penalty killers get out on right in McInnes's face, then he just dumps it into Mullen, who scored a lot of goals on that play.
Back to the line. Fleury is unable to keep it in with just 37 seconds remaining in the penalty. Banked off the boards for Fleury. Fleury is taken in heavily against the boards by Stepan. Good body check by the Soviet player. Gilmour back on the point. Slides it into Joel Otto. Back to the line for Fleury. Fleury trying to move into position over to Otto. Otto takes the shot, hits the Soviet player. Back to the net. Picked up there by Strahoff. He's unable to move it. Pried loose by Hunter. Back to the point to Fleury. Just 4 seconds left in the penalty. Over to McInnes, to Joel Otto. Back to Fleury. The penalized player is back in the ice. And Fleury goes cross ice. He was looking for Gilmore, and the penalized player, Lysenko, came flying in to deflect it away from him.
Well, the Soviet team played a very tight four-man box and didn't get out of it very often. And I think the Flames made a mistake of not getting the puck deep, then back out to the point, then deep, then back out to the point, or across the points more often to spread it out. They allowed them to sit in a tight zone instead of taking advantage of this rink size and throwing it around. And the other thing they did was there was some guy staring Al McInnes in the face the whole penalty, and the guy with the big bomb from the blue line never got a chance to use it.
A minute 34 remaining in the third. Maybe they should pull Vernon if we're going to avoid those bullets. Here's a shot from the point by Suter. It is blocked, and back comes Gordiuk. Gordiuk to Potayachuk. Couldn't convert that centering attempt.
Nice play by Mark Hunter, who got... The Flames were trapped for a 3-on-2, and Mark Hunter fought all the way down the rink to catch the late guy to take it away.
McClellan back to the net, trying to throw it out front. It did not get through as Gilmore was tied up. Vernon leaves it back of the goal for Suter. 55 seconds remaining in the third. They'll play a 10-minute overtime period if the score remains tied. Gilmore trying to center it. Goes off Smirnoff. Comes back to the line, kept in by Merzen. Odintsov unable to move it up. Now Gilmore, cross ice, looking for Roger Johansson, and it was knocked away from him by Stepa. Merzen chases it down in his own zone. We're 25 seconds away from overtime. This would be the second overtime game of the Friendship Tour. The Washington Capitals were involved and won the other night. They won it 8-7.
And the rule is, Don, that after 10 minutes, if no goal is scored, we're really kidding you, no bullets are going to be shot. There's going to be a shoot-off, you know what I mean, where 2 or 3 players from each team.
As it's touched and dumped in and the siren goes, that ends the third period. The score is tied at 2, and we'll return with overtime in a moment.
Beating Mike Vernon to send the game into overtime. Now let's join OT in Moscow.
Overtime just underway at the Luzhniki Sports Palace. They will play a 10-minute overtime period. Harron coming in, fakes the shot, tried to put a move on the defenseman Johansson, and lost control of the puck. Doug Gilmore in his own zone has it for Calgary. He tried to play it up along the glass. It went over and out of play.
Well, we've learned from Joel Nixon that the shootout will not be part of the overtime. It was originally meant to be that way, but the NHL teams, Washington and Calgary, objected. So there'll be a 10-minute sudden victory overtime period. If tied at the end of 10 minutes, it goes as a tie, and there won't be a shootout. It's too bad. I'd like to see a shootout. It's a little different.
But a shootout with pucks, not as was suggested in the program. Friakin and Smirnoff race into the corner. Comes around the other side. Gilmore tied up his man. Friakin gets involved in the play. They go down. Now Colin Patterson gets it in front, looking for Gilmore. Gilmore spun around, but still managed to control the puck. Now it's loose in the Soviet zone. Fired up in the wing to Harin. Vernon out of his net to grab it. And this is also something different in international play. The goaltender can come out of his net to freeze the puck without fear of a penalty.
You mean behind the icing line? In the National League, if the goaltender is completely behind the icing line and freezes the puck, he gets a delayed penalty. Penalty for delaying the game, as would any player who fell on it. But in international hockey, that isn't so. And Mike Vernon, who's been very active at skating out tonight, grabbed that one so no damage could occur.
And the goaltender has to move rather quickly on this larger ice surface and with a lot more room in the corners as well. The rink boards do not curve in as dramatically as in some National Hockey League arenas. Makarov comes out with Nieuwendyk. For Nieuwendyk, he was offside.
Well, I'm sure that Makarov will play many games better than the one he's played tonight. He certainly hasn't dazzled at all, and he did in each of the other 2 games we brought you from the Soviet Union. And as I said, I think in game 1 from Himik, one of the real adjustments for him and any European coming over is the 80-game grind and the intensity the coach demands every night in the National League.
Makarov unable to pick it up off the end boards. Nieuwendyk steps into Moranov in the corner. He flips it around to the other side to Osmanovic. He tried to hit Odintsov, too far for him, and back after it is Gary Suter. We're approaching the 2-minute mark of the overtime period. And as it's touched by the Soviet player, it's an icing call against Calgary.
I get the impression that the Soviet coach would settle for a tie quicker than Terry Crisp would, the Calgary coach, or he's simply going on the theory that if you don't make a mistake defensively, we may be able to pick up a bounce or something against Calgary and get the winner, because he's employed a very conservative style since about the 10-minute mark of the 3rd period.
Well, Mike Vernon is certainly getting much more work tonight than he anticipated when this game started. He thought that he would be spelled off at the midpoint of the 2nd period by Steve Gannett. Not only has he played all 3 periods, he's working overtime as well. McClellan back of the net. He tried the wraparound maneuver. He was checked there by Katakov. Played up along the boards, out into the center ice area. Race after it. Katakov. Cross ice. Fine save off Zolotov as Vernon anticipated that cross ice pass and got to it. Another shot. Vernon at the side of the net. Grabs it and holds on.
Well, young Sabern got trapped for the 2-on-1, but it was very well played by Al McInnes. And the game still stands at 2-2. Here's the replay. It's a 2-on-1. This guy's no intention of shooting. Vernon knows it and stays a little bit further back in the net than he might have in North America on a 2-on-1, where the man with the puck may shoot it more often rather than pass it.
In Kiev the other night, players on the Sokol Kiev team were calling Vernon Mishkin in reference to the fine Soviet goaltender who plays for Moscow Dynamo. After some of his saves, they may be calling him Tretiak.
Well, the reason they call him Mishkin in a joking fashion is that they say he's a little blonde goaltender, as is Mishkin.
Gordiuk takes the shot. Vernon makes the save. Vernon flips it to the boards to Hunter. Brink wide for Nieuwendyk. Nieuwendyk into the slot area, crossing and trying to drop it for Mark Hunter. It was behind him. Here's a lead pass for Hamailov. Gordiuk now goes back to the net. Gordiuk in front. Tried to go to his backhand, was knocked off the puck by Suter.
I think the Flames should forget the drop pass. They've seen so many of them on this tour. They're now trying to start to do it themselves, and they dropped it to the wrong team to give a long 3-on-2 opportunity for Moscow.
Gary Roberts bumps into his man. The Soviets get the puck out. Here's Heron moving into the slot, drops it back. Nimchinov couldn't get a shot away as he was cutting for the net. Puck comes to the line, and Makarov brings it out to the neutral zone. The best scoring opportunities in this overtime session have belonged to the Soviets. Milev, who scored the tying goal, forcing the overtime, brings it into the Calgary zone, and Vernon freezes it at the side of the net at 4:24 of the overtime period.
Well, 2 2-on-1s were presented to the Soviet team by Calgary's making a mistake at the offensive blue line. And Mike Vernon has had to bail his teammates out twice, and I'm sure Terry Crisp is going to remind his team that you have to tie the game before you win it, and don't be gambling at the offensive blue line.
Doug Gilmour gets it loose to Priakin, to Patterson. He was checked at the line. Merzen drives it in. Picked up by Osmanovic. He lost it to Priakin. Priakin to Gilmour. Gilmour getting set to McInnes. McInnes into the slot area. Comes back to Merzen at the point. A shot. That just went wide as Patterson was screening Bratish.
It was a good idea by Merzen because there was a lot of traffic in front of the net.
Esmanovich tried to pass it off to Stepa. He was checked. Gilmore in the center ice area for Mark Hunter. Gets it back again to Patterson. He dropped it off for Gilmore. Gilmore winds up, lets it go wide. Mark Hunter back of the net. He's knocked down, and the Soviets managed to clear the zone. As it's touched by Suter, that's an icing call against the wings of the Soviet with 5:33 remaining in overtime.
Well, the Soviets have had all the good opportunities, and they were more a result of not wise decisions by the Calgary team as well as good plays. Here's the shot Merzen takes, and you can see the crowd in front of the net. He got it up a little too high because the Soviet player came out and fell on the ice and forced Merzen to get it past him.
From the face-off, Suter attempting to fire it back into the Soviet zone, put it over the boards, out of play.
Well, Calgary stays here in Moscow and gets ready for the game against Red Army. In other years, that would be by far the best team you're going to play. The talk around Moscow by the hockey people we talk to, they say that the Red Army is not the odds-on favorite to win the championship this year, that there's about 3 teams, including the one out here tonight, that could win it. And that's a switch for Soviet hockey, as they've often gone with 2 or 3 losses in the 46-game schedule.
The Flames tomorrow will have a day off as far as games go. They will be guests of the Canadian Embassy and the ambassador to the Soviet Union, Vernon Turner. Kadykov knocked down at the line. Suter looking for Otto, missed him with the pass. Kadykov gets it again. Gives it to Pannon. Pannon circles to get away from Fleury. Pannon checked at the line. It goes loose to Kadykov. Kadykov, rather than shoot, looked for that rink-wide pass to Gordiuk, and Gordiuk was tied up. Fleury comes back. His rink-wide pass, looking for Ranheim, broken up at the blue line by Gordiuk.
The referee is trying his best, Don, to let the teams decide it. And I like to see that in a referee because I don't think there's been anything close to a problem as far as fisticuffs or much in the way of illegal play is concerned.
Merzen broke it up at the line, and then Ranheim raced in to deflect that puck, but it went high in the air, and the Soviets got control before Roger Johansson fired.
The interpreter, and sitting behind him, Joel Nixon, the television magnate for the National League, and of course, the president, John Ziegler.
Makarov knocked down in the neutral zone. Nemchinov into the slot, takes the shot. It's blocked by Al McInnes, and back comes Calgary. Nieuwendyk with Roberts and Makarov. Nieuwendyk with a shot that's high and wide. At the point, Sabourin trying to keep it in. He's unsuccessful.
Sabourin made a good play there, though. When you've got the puck at the blue line and you know it gets out a little bit, with the rule that the whistle goes right away on an offside on their 3rd game of this tour, and these fans wanted to see another hockey game before they left to support the Caps in Riga, which is in the Ukraine, not too far from Kiev.
On Wednesday night, the Calgary Flames will face Red Army here at the Luzhniki Sports Palace. We'll have that game for you. And then the tour of the Soviet Union by the 2 NHL teams concludes on Thursday when the Washington Capitals
years ago know what a great player he was.
Interesting to see another former great player in the game, in attendance at the game tonight, Alexander Ragulin, the fine Soviet defenseman.
I remember him way back in the 1950s. Probably don't remember that, being a little younger than I am, Don. But I remember those Penticton V's and Belleville McFarlands. That was 300 years ago, wasn't it?
Seems like an eternity. We have a minute and 40 seconds remaining in this overtime period. The score tied at 2. The Flames winning both previous matches on this friendship tour. 4-2 over Himik, 5-2 over Sokol Kiev. trying to make it 3 in a row. Pryakin, the former captain of the Wings of the Soviet. He's knocked off the puck, comes out in front. Gilmore scores! Backhander! And Calgary wins it in overtime. Doug Gilmore on the backhand as Pryakin managed to flip it across even though he had been knocked down.
Well, it was a harmless-looking rush, and Pryakin gets an assist on the goal. Watch this. The Russians have as many players back there as you'd like, but the Russian defenseman, number 21, was very slow at going to Gilmore, and Gilmore hit it as the puck was bouncing right here. And it beat the Russian goaltender, Bratash, and the game is over, and Calgary get the winner with 1 minute and 26 seconds left